My name is David Hecht. I'm the organizer of the San Francisco the Salesforce Data Analytics Meetup, and I've been doing this for a few years now, every other month. So thanks for coming, and thanks to Looker for sponsoring. Thanks for Geekdom to continuing to allow us to use the meeting room. My company, we work here at Geekdom. It's a co-working space, and they have desks from $300 a month. So if anyone needs a place to work, it's a pretty cool space. So anyway, my name is David Hecht. I'm the organizer. I have an app for Salesforce called Chargent, and it's a billing and payment processing application. So if anyone needs to collect money inside Salesforce or do subscription billing, talk to me afterwards. That's basically all I got. So we're going to have a couple of demos for you on Looker. First, Kevin's going to give a demo, and then Brad from Up Council is going to be joining him to show the customer side of things. So take it away, Kevin.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you.
Everyone, so I'm Kevin. I'm a sales engineer at Looker. Today I want to talk about what you can do with Salesforce data, specifically on the Looker platform. We also have one of our customers here today, Brad, who will hopefully enter his password to the laptop so I can get back into it. But Brad, as you can see here, is head of data at Up Council, and he'll also be presenting what he's been doing with Looker on his own Salesforce data, as well as his other kind of just general business data. So I think what I was thinking is I'll just do. Okay, cool. He's going to put his computer on caffeine. Do you think we could reduce the lights so it's a little bit clearer to see? Somewhere? Okay. All right, that's good enough. Let me know if anyone can't see this. Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. All right. All right, perfect. Cool. So I was thinking, I just want to introduce everyone to Looker, maybe just for 15 or 20 minutes. But then I want to hand it over to Brad, who's really going to kind of get into the depth of it and show you kind of his real life use case of Salesforce data on top of, or Looker on top of Salesforce data. All right. So I'll go ahead and just get into it. So what is Looker? Looker is a data platform. And we are a new company. Just to kind of look at us at a glance. We were founded in 2012. We've been doing this for just a couple of years now. We've gotten over 500 customers, have gotten a decent amount of funding. We've just hit over 200 employees. We're based in Santa Cruz, which is kind of a unique thing for a kind of a technology company, but that's just how it happened. We do have offices in San Francisco, London, in New York. We partner with a lot of major technology vendors. I'll get into how that fits into the ecosystem later. And we have a pretty experienced team from a variety of cloud providers, as well as other just kind of big data companies like Greenplum, Pivotal, Cloudera, etc. So Looker, kind of our mission is to make it easy for everyone to find, explore, and understand the data that drives your business. So we really want to enable you to get in there and not only look at a pretty chart, or a line going up to the right, but actually be able to drill into that information and answer the why behind it. And we have a lot of people that have joined us on this mission. So this is just a kind of a sample of our customer base. We have some people, I think, in the audience today from a variety of these companies, but today, first and foremost, we're focusing on Up Council, of course. Their use case, you can see they kind of fit nicely into this middle section here. So when we started, our founder kind of noticed two problems in the business intelligence space. And the first one was that we were noticing kind of this notion of a data bottleneck. I think a lot of people here are probably familiar with this, but what we were seeing was that there was some data expert, perhaps someone who wrote a lot of SQL, or someone that had kind of access to all the data, or in Salesforce, someone who actually just understands how to use the report builder. And they were kind of servicing all of the analytics needs of everyone at their company. a slew of questions be coming to this one person, that person be trying to satisfy all of these requests. And really, what it created was not only one person who kind of became a reporting monkey, but also it was not able to allow people to ask and answer their own questions on top of the data. You always have to go to this one person, there'd be a delay, and you'd have to wait until you got your answer. Now on the other side of it, there was data chaos. So imagine this as a spectrum, right? We have high governance, a single set of truth, but really slow to get your answers. On the other side of that spectrum, we have data chaos, where we say, you know what, let's just open the gates to everybody. Everyone can go in, here's some data, take what you want, come to your own conclusions. And this is also not a perfect solution because you ask two different analysts, what was the revenue last month? And they both give you different answers. And we kind of saw these two problems, and every solution in the BI space was somewhere on the spectrum. No one was able to do both, and that's really what Looker is set up to do. So Looker, yes, there was a way to find balance, and Looker is what we built to solve that. So Looker kind of breaks out of the spectrum. We're not in between it. We don't do one kind of half. We don't do one half well and the other one only half as well. We do both, and we do that using a kind of a specific set of technology. But this slide is kind of just to show you generally how Looker works. So we start with an SQL database. We support most of the most popular databases. We have a modeling layer that kind of bakes in those definitions into a single set. And then you can explore it in your browser. It's a web-based tool. And finally, you can really build a data culture. People can go in, ask questions, and answer them on their own as fast as they can think them up. Now, kind of going more into Salesforce specifically, the way that Looker works on top of Salesforce is the same way, in that Looker communicates with an SQL database, and that this would be a database that you own. So if we're looking at this hyper-simplified technology stack, you'd have your Salesforce here. You can then extract the data from it using Salesforce's API. That loads up into a database, and then Looker can speak SQL with that database, whether it's MySQL, SQL Server, Redshift, BigQuery, what have you. I also listed here two kind of turnkey ETL providers. So this doesn't have to be hard, by the way. We have a lot of customers that are using one of these two or perhaps several other ETL tools to plug right into Salesforce and immediately get the data into the database. And one last thing that I'll get into in the demo is this notion of blocks. Looker would then understand the Salesforce data using a templatized set of code in LookML we call a block that's purpose-built for Salesforce, designed to get you up and running quickly. So I'm going to jump in the demo here. And the three things that I want everyone to keep in mind is kind of the three technical pillars of Looker that allow us to solve this problem that we saw with data bottlenecks versus data chaos. And that is, first, that we operate what we call 100% in database. That means that we don't actually extract your data to our own data warehouse. You don't have to deal with ETL, copying data, any latency in that process. You own the database. At no point is the data a black box to you. You can always go in and see what's going on with Looker, see the queries we're building, and manage your own infrastructure. Also, if you're using something like Redshift or BigQuery, there's no point in paying for such a high-powered database and then sticking that data somewhere else. So we're going to leverage that technology. Second is that we have this modeling layer. And this is based on a proprietary language called LookML. And LookML is kind of the secret sauce. LookML is about connecting to a database, telling Looker what the data actually means semantically, perhaps describing the business logic, and then allowing Looker to build SQL for you. And all of this is managed in a modern web architecture installed in the cloud or on premises. We're pretty flexible. So I'm going to open up Looker in this separate tab here. My screen resolution is pretty small, but hopefully everyone can see this well. So if we think about what you can do in Salesforce today with reporting, you kind of have this report builder. It's kind of clunky, and most people don't know how to use it that well. And you can only really select the things that come out of the box. And so the idea with Looker is that we want to stick that into an SQL database that we own. And really the key here is that we want to unlock the power of SQL to allow us to do analytics, any kind of analytics that we would want to do on the data without being locked into any sort of recipe book that Salesforce has given us. So behind this demo instance, we have a Redshift database. We've taken our data from Salesforce. It originates from our own Salesforce account. We, of course, obfuscated it for the purpose of the demo. But internally, we use Fivetran just to take that data, suck it up, and just load it right into that Redshift database. So where I want to start is Looker's Explore section. Looker's Explore section is about building building reports and answering questions quickly. So if I jump into this one here, we have some data on e-commerce. Going down, we have some other kinds of data sets in here, but let me actually jump into this one called Salesforce. So this is our Salesforce data. Here are some objects you might have heard of before, but the idea with Explore is to build up any sort of tabular result set about any of the data I might have in Salesforce. So for example, maybe I want to know how many meetings have ever happened. I can jump in here and select my meeting count, hit the run button, and Looker will run a query against that database and give me the answer. Looks like the edge of my browser is not quite in there, but you can see the edge there. But I have 20,000 meetings. Now behind the scenes, Looker constructed an SQL query, and Looker knew how to write this because of LookML. So LookML, you can think of it as instructions that we've built ahead of time, telling Looker, hey, I want SQL to be built this way. Now what I selected here was count. This is what we call a measure in Looker. You can see it under the measures section. But besides measures, we also have dimensions. And so the difference between the two is that a measure is some sort of aggregate I would do over the data. And a dimension is essentially some attribute of my data. So when did the meeting start? Is it closed? What's the status of the meeting? And so forth. So I built a really simple query here just by selecting the meeting count, but I can start to layer in some more complexity here. For example, maybe I want to look at meetings that were only created in the last 30 days. I can select that, filter it, type in that 30. This is kind of a simple drag and drop, kind of what you see is what you get UI. But behind the scenes, this is translating into SQL. By the way, who here is familiar with SQL? Anyone here write on a daily basis? Okay, so it looks like about half the crowd. And so this is kind of what I can jump into to see how Looker is constructing SQL. Now behind the scenes, we have this LookML modeling layer. It describes how we build it. I'll be doing demos after the presentation. I don't want to get too into the details there. But if you want to see kind of LookML in action, let me know after and I'll show it to you. But the idea here is that I can see exactly what's going on. So at no point do I distrust the data. We really don't like companies that take your data, say, what do you want to see, and then just give you a chart, and you have no idea how they got to that answer. I think what happens a lot when we have that is that you start to distrust the data, and if you don't trust your data, you might as well not have analytics at all in the first place. So here, as you can see, the actual logic that's being used to construct the report. If I just hit the run button, I'll be able to see that answer. In this case, it's 1,135, it looks like. And so I built in this filter. Now I also want to add a dimension, so I'll go ahead and just do that really quickly. Say I want to add in this same dimension I just used, create a date. I'll add that into my report as well. And what this will do is it'll group up my count for every date that exists in this date range. So now I have effectively a time series. Now that I have this, I could visualize it, open up the Viz tab. Here's a line chart. I can look at a table, column, bar, scatter plot, area, pie, kind of whatever you want to see to kind of visually represent the data. And then, of course, from there you can share it, schedule it in email, add it to a dashboard, what have you. One last thing about Explore here is that I can really add in as many of these three elements as I want: filters, dimensions, and measures. For example, maybe I want to look at whether or not this meeting is closed. So, or maybe I want to look at the status, right? I can add in that dimension, then let's add another column, hit the run button, and now my result set, once it gets back to me, will show me the breakdown per day and per meeting status, how many meetings there were. I'm not really, the screen width here is kind of weird, so it's kind of going past the screen share, but there are numbers in there, I promise you. One last thing here is that you can pivot and explore. So if I want to see this in a more human-readable format, I can do this much like you would do in Excel. That'll take every status, move it into its own column. Likewise, my visualization, it'll create a different series for each of those statuses. So again, the idea here is I want to jump in, I can mix and match any of the components of my underlying relational data, and I can visualize it very quickly. So this is just an example of what we could do, but let's fast forward a bit. So in Looker, again, I mentioned we have this notion of blocks, and blocks help us get up to speed really quickly on top of the Salesforce data. And once I have those blocks, I can start to use Explore like this, build some visualizations, and add some dashboards. So here I have one called Sales Ops Management. And this is just an example of all the different kinds of things we could be doing on top of that Salesforce data. Again, underlying this Looker instance, we have a Redshift database just containing all the data in our Salesforce. Excuse me. And I can transform the data however I like, and I can report on it however I like. So here we have some single value type visualizations across the top. Down here we have a funnel visualization. So if I want to see what the conversion rate is from one step of my sales funnel to the next, I can look at that here. I can deselect those steps to kind of look at the composite conversion rate across any two steps in that funnel. Conversion rate and time series analysis is not a problem in Looker. Here I'm showing the meeting to opportunity conversion rate, or at least meetings that converted within 7 days, and it's dark purple, within 60 days as the light purple. But again, I can bake in whatever definitions I like, and then make them kind of out of the box in my Explore section just via LookML. One cool thing I did want to share with you guys is pipeline snapshotting. This is a certain kind of analysis that we like to do in Looker as well. We actually just started doing this internally, and we thought it was so useful we figured we'd throw it into the demo. But in Salesforce, it's pretty easy to set up historical snapshots, opportunity history. That just, of course, is a table. And once we put Looker on it, we can instruct Looker how to transform that to show us something meaningful. So in this case, at every point in this x-axis is a snapshot of my entire opportunity pipeline with a breakdown of the likelihood of what likelihood tier those opportunities are of closing. And this is honing in on opportunities with a projected close date in Q4. This happens to be for last year, but of course I can go in and change the quarter to whatever I like. Another use case that we saw on Salesforce that we thought was really interesting was going in and seeing how sales reps are doing and comparing them against the rest of the team. So here, if I jump to that other dashboard, sales representative performance. This is an example of a dashboard that you would use for that use case. And so in this case, we've built in some analyses that take our reps, compare them against the rest of the team. In this case, we're zooming in on a rep named Kelsey. But in here, I can change it to be whatever I'd like. So let's kind of zoom in on a couple more interactivity features. I touched on toggling these funnel elements, but also at the top, we can change the global filters. So if I want to look at a different rep, Looker will autocomplete based on the data in my underlying database. We have some interesting names in here, like Billy Luckadoo. Let's see how Billy's doing. I'll go ahead and just select him and run. Looks like he's new. So perhaps not the best example. But I'll jump back. Let's try Beth. All right. I can see how Beth is performing against the rest of the team. So this is kind of what I wanted to show today. I just wanted to give a quick intro to Looker. But the idea here again is that you want to unlock your data, stick it into SQL database. And with LookML, you can kind of do whatever you want on that data, whether it's rep comparison, pipeline snapshotting, time series analysis, or anything else you can think of. Cool. Yeah.
Since you mentioned it's only for SQL DBs, so I'm assuming it's not for unstructured data, right? You can't use the looker for unstructured data?
That's right. A lot of our customers are flattening data and sticking them into a structured database. We're using some sort of SQL layer on top of unstructured data, but I'm happy to talk about that more after.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Brad?
I'm not going to talk about it, but we do exactly what he just mentioned. We do flatten our data.